Hey guys, welcome back to our podcast, H&H Sports Talk. I'm your host, Hunter, and I'm joined with my co-host.
Holbert?
All right, cool. So this week we're going to have a bunch of new sports topics to talk about that happened either this past week or that's going to happen, and just kind of see what's going on in the sports world. Our first topic is going to be MLB. As we all know, MLB is in the off season, and there's a lot of signings going on. But one major topic that happened, I think, a few days ago, I want to say, or this weekend, right? It was this weekend, Hobart?
I believe so because I saw it on Instagram.
Right. It's Carlos Correa, who was slated to sign with the Mets, kind of got, not, I would say the contract got held back due to his physical, which is interesting enough because this happened with the Giants when he was supposed to sign with them. And now that is kind of lingering now with his contract with the Mets. And we also got an update that it was his right leg. And I believe when he played for the Astros, it was maybe 3 or 4 years ago, he had broke that leg. And so I think they're trying to see like what's going on. And I mean, I guess it could be a reoccurring injury or something. We really don't know. We just heard that it's a right leg injury.
I think they're just being really cautious, to be honest. I think they want to make sure that they're going to get the most out of somebody who they're going to pay millions and millions of dollars for multiple
Right,
years.
right, because he is getting paid a lot. And it was a lengthy contract. I believe it was 12 years. So to see that, it's like injuries have kind of held him back when he played for the Astros. And so that's one reason why I'm pretty sure a lot of people didn't really want to sign him just because of those injuries. So that's definitely something to look at. So moving on to boxing and some boxing news, Jermell Charlo was forced out of his fight due to a broken hand, which he is the undisputed champ in his weight class. So this is going to set him back maybe a couple months just to heal and do the surgery. So we can get an update on that as soon as he comes back. So hopefully he's all well. You know, the broken hands usually happen quite often for boxers. So it should be quick and easy recovery, and he can move on to the fight when they reschedule it.
I think he's probably going to come back pretty well. It's just it depends on how long his recovery takes with that hand, especially because as boxers, you of course you use your hand.
Right. Yeah. Uh huh.
A lot of pain.
So yeah, and then this happened during his training camp. So I think he said that something didn't feel right, and then his hand was throbbing, and so they got it checked out. And sure enough, it was a broken, I think, knuckle or something like that. But yeah, he should be back to full form.
Still rough for him though.
Right, right. I was excited to see him come back because he's always an exciting fighter.
One of the few that I've watched in the past few years that is really interesting and fun.
Right.
All right, now we can move on to big NBA topics. So one of the things that I've been reading recently was about Trey Young. I hear about him having like arguments with the coach. I believe his name is Nate McMillan, but I forget. I don't remember their coach very well. But
Same here. Hmm.
recently I've also heard that he's gotten into like not altercations, but like
Kind of like arguments.
with teammates, and teammates aren't liking some of the things that he's doing. And it's kind of weird because I think the rumors are that he might ask for a trade at the end of the season if it doesn't go well, which
That's
is
definitely
yeah,
interesting. Yeah.
that's uh that's different because then that also that also means that if he leaves, the Hawks definitely lost the trade for Luca and Trey Young in the draft a couple years back.
Right. It's also a big loss for their future as well, because I mean, they have pretty good young stars as it is, but then to see him leave, I mean, that's a big loss for sure. It's kind of not that they have to rebuild, but I'm sure someone else will come up. But it's just like kind of like a soft reset, soft reboot. More like.
Yeah, especially with the addition of DeJounte Murray, who's one of the best two-way players in my opinion.
Right. He could possibly fill that role for Trey Young, but I mean, we would just have to see and kind of wait to see what happens.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing going on for some reason it's happening.
Definitely.
Another thing that has been going on is there's a lot of rumors and speculation about DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine not working really well on the court, and they've been having team meetings. They've been having like dinners with the team just to like try to get the chemistry up, but nothing has been working. And it's really a weird topic because these are two people who are pretty different in scoring, except for the fact that sometimes they both want to go at the rim.
Right. I think it kind of just comes down to who, well, both of them want the ball, obviously. I mean, every player wants the ball when they play, but it's just kind of like, I want to be the leader, type of thing. So, kind of, I mean, it was kind of working when they first started playing, but then again, I want to say, wasn't Levine hurt at some point when
I
DeMar
think I
first came?
think I think this year Levine was hurt for like a couple
Was it
weeks,
this year?
but
Okay, yeah. So it's kind of like, you know, I want to take over, but I want to take over. But DeMar is the veteran. He's been around, so I could see him kind of wanting to be that leader, especially for the young team.
and you also have to think about it. Lonzo Ball is still out, and he might not even play either till the end of the season or not even play at all.
Wow. Okay. That is
Yeah,
something to look at too.
He hasn't played one game this season, I don't think.
Hmm.
So it's really so with the trade deadline coming up, probably I believe in the next month.
Yeah,
Um,
I believe it's coming up soon for sure.
it'll be interesting to see what happens with the DeMar Levine situation if one of them wants out
Or something.
or
Yeah.
if they add
It
pieces around them.
right. I personally feel like Demar's kind of in a weird spot too, just because he was. I mean, he was kind of forced out with the Raptors, because they
Yeah.
got Kawhi, and so it's just you even hear the rumors or speculations or whatever may have happened. They said that he was where was he, like at a Jack in the Box or a Taco Bell, and he
Something
found out
like
he got
that.
traded, something like that, and he was pretty heartbroken. And then he was like, "Man, I have to restart. I was with this team in the Raptors like forever, and then they trade him off, and so it's just he's kind of been in a weird spot.
Yeah, ever since he was in San Antonio, and then now he kind of popped off last year, like towards like
He
around this time.
right, he did.
But I don't know really what happened this year. Maybe something's going on in the locker room. Maybe he's losing his touch. Maybe Levine wants the ball too much. Who knows?
Yeah, we don't know.
um, we can move on to the Warriors. The Warriors and the Grizzlies played this, I think, Sunday. It was this past weekend. And the Grizzlies, they came out of like the tunnel dancing, like, oh, we're just gonna beat this team. They don't have Steph Curry. And Clay Thompson just becomes Game 6 Clay or something. Drops like 24, and I believe Jordan Poole had like 30, 32.
Right.
So they came out swinging. They were trying to prove something against the Grizzlies.
I think it's good to see the other players that don't get a chance to play or kind of shine per se when Steph's there, because Steph scores a lot of points,
Most of the
as we
points,
know.
yeah.
Yeah, most of the points. And so to see everybody kind of step up, they're younger players, that's good to see because it's a bright future for the Warriors for sure. I mean, obviously you had Clay, so you know that's definitely good that everybody else kind of contributed to that win.
Yeah, I remember Clay talking about when they got beat by the Grizzlies a couple years ago in the play-in, the Grizzlies tweeted, or someone, I think it was Jaren Jackson tweeted, "Strength in numbers," which is the slogan for the Warriors.
Their slogan for the Warriors, right? Yeah.
And I remember Klay Thompson saying that it really pissed him off. So every time he plays the Grizzlies, he plays with a different intensity. Like I think he made like a step back mid range over Dylan Brooks, and Dylan Brooks falls, and he just goes like standing over him, taunting him, gets a tech. That happened in this recent game, so
Wow.
it's a
That's
lot
wild
of
because
it's a lot of great energy for basketball. We can move on to Cade Cunningham for the Pistons. With that shin injury, I don't know exactly what happened. I know he had to have surgery, and he's out for the
right.
season. So how do you think that affects what they're trying to put together?
I mean, what year is he again? It's
I think it's his second year,
his
second or
second
third.
year, right? That's what I thought. I'm pretty sure. So I mean, you see the Pistons record. They're what are they, second to last in their division or not last, right?
Probably last. Let me make
Right.
sure. I don't want to be wrong.
Right. And so I guess they're trying to build something, obviously, because they got Cade as their first pick, and so to see that happen, it just kind of puts a little setback in their plans. But when he comes back, I think he should be good as new. Come back from this injury, and then they can continue to build on what they have, and then go from there and see their success in what they have.
Yeah, I think they're building something really good for the future with Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duran. They got Cade Cunningham. Then you have like really good role players, Killian Hayes, Marvin Bagley,
Right.
Hamadou Diallo. I really like him. So I think it's good, and then they could get a high draft pick, maybe pick up a really good player in the draft, maybe a
Right.
top
Like a
five pick.
right top five pick, and it should be a win-win. And then for everyone else to kind of step up to and see what they have, and then see if they want to be a part of that future as well.
Yeah, I think they have something really good for the next. They probably won't get it till 3 years from now, probably the way it's looking, but it's really good development that's gonna have to happen for it to go
Right.
well.
Right.
All right. Another young player that I want to talk about was Lamelo. They're not doing so hot. He's coming off of injury, and I was thinking, especially with his dad, LeVar, he might want to leave the Hornets if they don't pick it up. I think it's gonna be a big decision for him, and maybe if they get Gordon Hayward back, and then Miles Bridges comes back from whatever he's going through with
Right.
probation and stuff.
Right. Because I mean, they look pretty promising in the beginning. When Lamelo's rookie season, and it's like everybody was talking about Lamelo this, Lamelo that, and so they had gained some traction, and then to see kind of it falling apart, it's like I don't know. So we'll see what influence LeVar has on Lamelo, because he has some influence, I'm sure, but not everything. Because at the end of the day, it's Lamelo's decision whether he wants to stay or leave.
I think that the way that family is, I feel like he'll end up leaving. Maybe not at the end of this year, but maybe at the end of his contract, his rookie contract. I don't
Right.
know. Is
Yeah.
it is this is his third year, I believe.
I believe so. Yes.
So yeah, he has maybe a year to figure it out. Give him one more chance to put something around him.
Right. And then walk away in free agency and go to maybe a better team, or maybe a team that needs development, or just that player in Lamelo, and see how it goes.
Yeah, I think It's something to think about. I don't know exactly what he's gonna do because you never know with NBA players.
Right. Yeah. I mean, crazier things have happened for sure.
100%. And then the big topic that that was pretty interesting. I believe this happened yesterday.
It sure did. This was
Um,
crazy.
Luka Doncic dropped the first ever 60-point, 20 rebound, 10 assist game in NBA history. This was the most wild stat I've ever seen. And he's not even like so to get 20 rebounds is crazy is
That's
like
just
is
that's
good.
just
He's not even a
insane in itself.
he's not
Yeah.
even a center. He's the
Yeah.
point guard. Man,
The-
he was just hitting everything. He to tie the game and go to overtime, he throws the free throw off the rim. It bounces off the rim, off the
yeah.
backboard, off some other player, and he catches it midair and just throws it up, and it goes in. This man was so surprised that he did that he did the weirdest dance I've ever seen. Did you see
Right. He
that
did.
clip?
He did. Yeah. He did some
Bro, it was so
insane
funny.
dance moves. But I mean, he was all over the place. He was all over the court during that play. So it was just insane to see. And for
The
him,
the only problem I have with it is that he shouldn't have had to do that.
yeah, yeah, I completely agree.
Look, let me see what everyone else scored in that game. Like, okay, Dinwiddie had a good game, 25, and they finally started Christian Wood. He had 19. But their bench total points had 9. Total points off the bench was 9. That's
That's
not
crazy.
okay.
That's crazy. I mean, that's kind of unacceptable.
The most minutes on their bench was Reggie Bullock, and he had 3 points. Yeah, I don't know what they're doing over there, but Luka's making it work.
Yeah, Luca is definitely making it work.
I think my favorite thing about this was his post game interview. Did you see the post game interview?
No, I did not. I
Man,
just
it
saw
was
the.
funny. Like the guy comes up, I don't know who he was, but he's like, "Luka, how do you feel after this first 60 point 20 rebound triple double?" And he goes, "Man, I'm tired as hell." Which is probably the funniest thing. And then he goes, "I think I need a recovery beer." On to the NFL news that's going on right now. One of the big stories, Tua Tagovailoa back in concussion protocol. Honestly, this is the most wild thing that's happened recently.
I agree.
This man has had 3 concussions in a season. Even though they say the first one wasn't a concussion, but I believe it was.
It definitely. He didn't look right, you know.
Yeah.
So
I think this could be really bad for his career.
yeah, not only that, in his long-term health, you hear about CTE and how it has effects on people, especially after playing football for so many years. It's not looking good for sure. So we could only hope that he'll be okay and everything will be fine. But I mean, just this is insane. And then I don't know if the rumors are true, but I've just been seeing that people are saying, man, he looks like he was playing with a concussion the whole game, and it's like, if he was, then that's definitely not a good look for the Dolphins again in the Tua
Well,
situation.
the play that they say looked like he got the concussion was in the first half. And he went through halftime and the rest of the game throwing the 3 interceptions in the second half.
Right,
So I don't know, and it is confirmed that he does have a concussion.
right, yeah, it is
So
confirmed. So
that looks really bad on the Dolphins again.
again, yes, but like I said, so it's just, I mean, we don't know. It's just kind of speculation, but it just doesn't look good.
Yeah, I just think so this happened to Luke Kuechly. He had three concussions in a season, and that's when he
Right.
retired.
Right.
He retired at like 28 or 29 because of concussions.
Right. And that's why you see a lot of NFL players not being able to play long enough. It's because of injuries like that. Not necessarily. Well, it could be injuries, but also head injuries, especially. So it's
Yeah, it's
just
just
hard to see, hard to hear, and then for the future of him, and his long term health, like I was saying, it's not a good look.
the NFL even cracked down on concussion protocol, which is weird that he didn't get checked for that.
Right. Yeah. Because I believe that was the reason, right, that they placed this
Yeah,
protocol.
because of Tua when he got slammed to the ground and he had to go to the hospital.
Right. Right.
I don't know. It's just really it's a tough situation for him and the team and I guess his
Everyone
career.
involved.
Yeah, his career
Yeah.
especially.
Hmm.
And that doctor. That doctor sucks.
Right.
That doctor is horrible. Um yeah, so that situation is pretty weird.
Hmm. I agree.
Another thing that's happening is me as the Packers fan of this podcast.
Yeah. Here
I
we go.
always have to talk about everything. Everything is going right for the Packers right now. We all the people that we needed to lose lost, and we beat Miami. But of course in the second half he had the concussion. But
Right.
a win is a win, you know.
It's definitely looking good for y'all, especially since your playoff dream or playoff hopes weren't dead, but it's just a lot of things had to fall in place in order for y'all to go to the playoffs, and luckily for y'all, everything fell into place.
Everything's falling in line. I think all we need is to win the last two games against the Vikings and the Lions, which we'll see.
Right.
And we need
It's a tough
the
schedule.
yeah, and then we need the Commanders to lose one game. I think they play the Browns this week, and then they play the Cowboys the last week of the season. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens there with the Commanders and see if the Packers can beat the Vikings and the
Right.
Lions. I think the only problem with us making the playoffs is that I think Aaron Rodgers will want to come back. Which me as a Packers fan, I love Aaron Rodgers. Like he's one of my favorite players ever. But we drafted Jordan Love in the first round when we could have drafted a receiver or like a offensive lineman or something.
Mhm.
So if Aaron Rodgers stays and Jordan Love wants out if Aaron Rodgers stays, then what was the
Right.
point? We just wasted a first round pick.
Right.
And even if he's not as good, probably won't be as good as Aaron Rodgers was in his prime. But we have to play him or use him for something. Since we wasted it's not even wasted yet. It's just since we used that first round pick on him and we traded up to get him too.
So clearly, y'all saw something in him.
Yeah, I just think it's time for Aaron Rodgers to retire, go do his hallucinogens somewhere else, or go on the Pat
His
McAfee show.
hallucinations.
Instead of every Tuesday, he's just there every day on the Pat McAfee show. That would be good.
Yeah, him and AJ Hawk just chilling out.
AJ Hawk with his big cigar that I always see for some reason.
Right. Living his best life.
All right, now here's a section for you. The Cowboys have a chance to actually win the division. Do you think it's
This
possible?
this is interesting because if we look at the schedules, which I'm gonna pull up right now, we have the Cowboys against the Titans tomorrow night, actually Thursday. Yeah.
Yeah, versus
So
Malik Willis and Derrick Henry is doubtful to play.
Right. I honestly, towards the end of the season, they might just say like, no, just live to play another day, basically.
Yeah.
So I think this should be an easy win for the Cowboys. If not, then a win anyways, because the Titans have been up and down. So we'll just see how that goes. And then, like you said, the Cowboys will play the Commanders, and the Commanders, we did beat them 25-10. I don't exactly remember how that game went. I want to say that the first quarter was kind of, okay, because I think we only scored 3 points. Then the second quarter, the Commanders scored, and then we scored just nothing but field goals. So it's kind of like, we'll see, but we should beat them. It should be a good game. We should beat them. And then the Eagles, we don't know if Hurts is going to play. Which do you know if Hurts is going to play?
I have no word on it right now.
Right. So that's up in the air. So depending if he plays or not, which, like I said, I mean, they might just say like, no, just save him for the playoffs. Sit him those next 2 games, and then the Eagles' next game, which is on Saturday, Sunday, they'll be playing the Saints. So, I mean, the way the Saints have been looking, mm, the Eagles should win, and then the Eagles close out with the Giants. And so the Giants are one of those teams that kind of gave you a game the whole time. They gave us a game. So we'll just have to see how they play
Well,
against the Eagles.
the only thing that I think they have to lose both games for you
Right,
to win the division.
right. So that's why I'm saying it's just we'll see. The Saints would have to play a beautifully perfect game in order to beat the Eagles, and also it also comes down to if Hurts plays.
Yeah,
And so,
it's gonna be a big point in that game because I like Gardner Minshew and he did decent in the last game.
oh yeah, he was spot on honestly for most of the game.
But he's not Jalen Hurts.
Mm-mm.
I think Jalen Hurts is MVP. If he didn't get hurt, he would have gotten it for sure. I think since he goes out a few weeks, he might go to Mahomes. But
Right. So
yeah,
it kind of just depends.
I just think it's possible, but I just don't think it's probable.
Right. I honestly, I think if anything, the Eagles might split the next 2 games. Win against the Saints, lose against the Giants. Best case scenario, they lose to both of them in nail biters. But it just, as a Cowboys fan, it's probably not going to happen. But at least we secured our spot in the playoffs.
Yeah, y'all made the playoffs, so even if I think if y'all win this next week and the Eagles win, I think the last game y'all just sit y'all starters.
Right. Exactly. And that's usually what
Just put
happens.
the goat Cooper Rush in and just let him
Right.
work, with Noah Brown and T.Y.
Right. Him
Hilton
and Noah Brown. Him and Noah Brown, T.Y. Hilton.
and
Good day.
probably
Good day.
Pollard.
Probably Pollard, yeah.
Um. All right. Well, the next topic is the probably one of the hottest teams in the league right now, Jacksonville Jaguars. They
Yes.
just took the lead in the NFC South, I believe, over the Titans. They are I think one game above them now. And Trevor Lawrence is looking really good, which is weird. He did not look good at the beginning of the season for me,
Right.
but I think they're just getting a rhythm. They're starting to use Evan Ingram more at the tight end position. I think they just figured it out. They figured out what they needed to do.
Right.
I
And
think
it's not like
they could be a sleeper in the AFC.
right. And it's not like Trevor Lawrence is a bad quarterback at all. I mean, we saw what he did at Clemson,
Yeah.
So we've seen his potential. It's just if he had the right team around him, the right coach around him, because you know one thing can happen, then another thing happens, and look at where he's at now. I think
It's
he's really starting to play like that number one pick, like they thought he was going to be.
yeah, I think he's starting to get used to the weapons around him and gaining more confidence in the weapons, and he has a good run game at the same time, so that play action works really well. Everything in the offense is going right for them right now. Their defense has been they've been solid. They haven't been like
They've been solid. Yeah, I
goated, but
agree.
I think
Especially
this is the making for a sleeper team, a good wild card team maybe.
right, and especially I mean the way they beat the Cowboys. Yes, it was in overtime, but they could have easily gone away with the game if the Cowboys didn't score as many points as they did. Because I mean, Dak kind of struggled in that game, so it's just overall to see the Jaguars build up to what they are now this season. It's really great to see.
Yeah, I think they might have a good future coming for them with what is it, Christian Kirk, right? At wide receiver.
Correct.
Uh, who else? I'm trying to think. Evan Ingram's good. They have Travis Etienne, and then of
Mm-hmm.
course they have Trevor Lawrence and head coach Doug Peterson, right?
Correct.
The guy that beat Bill Belichick with Nick Foles.
Yeah.
That was wild. But yeah, I just think they're gonna be a solid team and a team that not a lot of people want to play in the first round of the playoffs.
Right. Because they'll give you a game from the first quarter all the way to the fourth.
All right, so now more talking more about veterans. JJ Watt says he's retiring at the end of the season. I think this is kind of sad to see.
It is sad to see for sure, because I'm sure he probably has couple more years in him. But to see all the injuries that he's had over the years and kind of he plays one of the most physical positions in the game. So it's like, was it time? Maybe. But it's still sad to see one of the best defensive players in the league to announce his retirement for sure.
It's crazy because I remember when he was like a rookie
Mm-hmm.
and he just started going off and we're like, who is this guy? Like, what is he doing? Like, and he became one of the most dominant players for probably 3 or 4 years. And it's crazy to think that in college, I believe in college he played tight end. So like that's such a weird flip from tight end to defensive line and still be able to dominate the league.
Right.
Like people were afraid to like block him, to be in front of him. Like how people look at Aaron Donald now, that's how they look at JJ Watt maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Right.
And it's just kind of sad to see that big back injury that he had made him kind of slow up. I think he would have had more years like of dominance. But also I'm very proud of like his career and like what he did and especially him being a Houston legend. Like how much he helped during the hurricanes that went through Houston a few years ago.
Right.
Just an all around good guy, great veteran. You see all the mic'd up clips of him messing with his teammates. It's just he just seems like a good guy, and I'm glad that he was even to be like able to be in the NFL this long and be able to do the things that he did.
Right.
Now the most recent news that I read literally probably this morning is that the Las Vegas Raiders have benched Derek Carr for Stidham, Jared Stidham.
This is a crazy move. I mean, I didn't think I would see this happen at all. but the Raiders have struggled, so I guess it's not too much of a surprise.
Right before we started the podcast, I had told you that I just saw something, a stat that Derek Carr has the second most losses in his first 9 seasons in NFL history.
Mm-hmm.
I think he had I think it was 79 losses in his first 9 seasons,
That's a crazy stat.
which is so weird for how much he gets paid.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the most ironic part about all this is going to sound really petty, but Devontae Adams left the Packers because he said that he wanted a quarterback that was going to be there for more than a couple years.
Yeah.
But now it's looking like Derek Carr is on the way out. Like we don't know if he's going to get traded or if they're going to just waive him or not play him.
Right. Who knows? I mean, but he could definitely step. I mean, well, not step up, but
He could
go to
come
another
back.
team.
I think he can
Yeah.
come back to the Raiders at the end of the season or maybe the start of next season. But I just think he might be done there because I just think they're done with him. Like they're like, we've been paying you so much money and you can't get to the playoffs, or if you do, you lose in the first round. It's time for them to move on from him, in my opinion. I actually feel bad for Devontae because of what happened because I just saw an interview saying that Devontae was like, yeah, that's my guy, but oh, this stuff happens all the time. I can't really talk too much about it because it's not my decision. It's a lot of
Right.
stuff that's going on.
Definitely a lot of stuff to look at going forward. Like I said, he could probably go to another team and kind of, you know, be that leader or be that guy that can make that team a little better. But like I said, and like you said, he has struggled here in his time with the Raiders.
Yeah, I think whatever they do, if they keep him, if they let him go, it's gonna affect them a lot. Either
Definitely.
way,
It
it's gonna be a big change no matter what. He's gonna either have
right.
to step up and be the quarterback that they paid him to be, or he's gonna have to leave and they're gonna replace him.
It could also be like a Baker situation all over again, you know?
Oh God.
So it's we just have to find out and see what happens. So moving on to college football, as we all know, the college football playoffs start this weekend. The top four teams in the country: Georgia versus Ohio State, Michigan versus TCU. So, Hobart, I wanted to get your prediction for Georgia and Ohio State.
So no disrespect to Ohio State, but I think this is an easy win for Georgia. I just think they're more well-rounded and they're the better football team. I just think I think they will win, but I don't think they'll blow them out or anything. I predict like a 35-24 type game. You know what I mean? 10-point game, something like that.
Right. I'd have to agree with you on that because, I mean, Georgia's just a powerhouse. And, they play against powerhouse schools. So they should probably beat Ohio State. And if it's any indication of how Michigan beat Ohio State, it should be a
Yeah.
pretty good win for Georgia. So, what are your predictions for Michigan versus TCU?
This one's a lot harder just because I've been rooting for TCU all year.
Uh-huh.
I think Michigan will win, but I think it's going to be closer than a lot of people think.
You think
I
so?
think it's going to be either in overtime or a game-winning field goal touchdown situation. I think Michigan's probably the better overall team, but I think TCU has the heart and grit to try to pull it through, give them a
Right.
game. I just don't think they
Like,
can. I just don't think they could finish the game against Michigan.
like how we talked about a few weeks ago, Michigan is the overall the better team, and TCU has had their moments of like, man, are they going to lose? Because they've had close games all year. So I think that if TCU wins, it's going to be because of their quarterback Max Duggan, because he's the one that puts his body out on the line, his heart on the line, and he's making these plays. It's like he's the one that kind of steps up in the clutch going forward. And when they played in the Big 12 championship, at the end of the game, Duggan was the only one pretty much, doing everything because he was running with the ball and he, just said, snap the ball, I'm running. And he literally had to be helped off the field. So,
Man, he pulled the longest yard with Adam Sandler.
right. So, like I said, I think Michigan's overall the better team, and I think Michigan's going to pull out the win for sure.
I think these are all going to be good games, though. Like, they're going to be really entertaining. And
Definitely, yeah. They always are every year for sure. So we'll just have to see what happens this weekend, and
yeah,
then we can go from there.
it's just kind of weird to not see Bama there.
Definitely, yeah, for sure. So moving on to our favorite school, Hobart Nines, University of North Texas. As we had mentioned a few weeks ago, they hired um, a new coach, and he actually added a defensive coordinator, Matt Capone, I believe that's how you say his name, from Iowa State. So I think this is a good hire because of the way their defensive their defensive their defense has been pretty decent. So I think we're showing some improvement for sure. And it'll be interesting to see how he kind of chooses to run his plays and everything. And with that, they also hired a special teams coach, Drew Bada. I don't know how to say his last name. Excuse
Svoboda,
me.
I think.
Subata, right? Okay. And he's from Alabama. So that's a really good pickup because, we've seen how Bama's been these past, years in the college football world. And then they also hired a strength and conditioning coach, Brian Keegans from USC. And so that's also a Power Five school. So that's a good pickup as well, just to see how everything goes with that. What are your thoughts?
I think all these hires are really good, especially coming from bigger schools.
Right.
Going down conferences is probably gonna make it a little bit easier for them to be able to do what they do, and maybe even bring up our program to become maybe one of the better programs in the
For
American
sure.
Conference. I think it's gonna take probably a year or two, but I think this coaching staff could probably make us look really good and make us like the special teams coach from Bama.
Right.
And then you have strength and conditioning from USC. Do you see the players at USC?
Those are really big boys. Yeah.
Really big boys.
Really big boys. Yeah. So, I said earlier, it's a good pickups for sure. And like you said, I mean, it could definitely put our school on the map.
I think everything's looking up for our football program.
And then the Mean Green basketball team started in conference play against UTSA as their first conference game. And Abu Usmani scored 37 points and had 11 rebounds and 3 steals, which is insane to say. I mean, he's like, I feel like we've seen him grow as a player, and he's just been growing, getting better and getting better to where, like, I mean, he might be looked at in the NBA possibly. I mean, who knows?
I think conference play is going to be really good for Abu Usman. I think he's gonna be able to dominate in the trenches because we've been playing a lot of bigger teams like UMass and Grand Canyon, and we also played St. Mary's this year.
Right,
So I think our conference is gonna be a little bit more suited for Abu Usman. I think he's probably gonna have a bunch of games with like 12 rebounds. I don't know about the 37 points. That was an
right.
anomaly. I've never seen that
Yeah,
before.
yeah,
But
that rarely happens.
this game for our North Texas team was really good. It was really close for a while, but then we pulled away in the last 10 minutes, ended up winning by 24 points, 78-54.
Right. It was
Great
definitely a big win.
great way to start off conference play against not too good UTSA team,
Right. I mean, because they did give us a game in the beginning, like you said. So,
I think this is a big confidence booster for our next game coming up, which is tomorrow actually.
right. Now that you mentioned that, we have a little preview for the game on, which is also tomorrow, and it's a real big game between. I think it's basically number one versus number two, right?
I believe so, yes.
Yes. So, FAU in our their record is 11-1, and I think we are 10-2, right?
Yes,
That's our
we are
record.
10-2.
Yes, so that's their record. So they've only lost one game, and they've been blowing out teams. Now they have been playing smaller schools. However, they did get a big win. I think it was against a SEC school. I'm not too sure. I
They
could
got a
be
big
wrong.
win against Florida. 2-point win against Florida.
Right. So
And they also had a big win against Eastern Michigan and Imani Bates.
right. So if that's
S-
any indication of how they're gonna play, I mean, they're probably gonna bring it to us for sure. And this is a home game, so I know there's a lot of backing behind it, and like they want UNT to win as the home team, so it'll it'll be a good game for sure. I think as of yesterday when I looked, ESPN predicted us to be favored in the game, which is kind of surprising, but I mean, it could go either way because this is going to be a solid game for sure.
Yeah, we're a 2.5 point uh favorite.
Favorite.
And
So
ESPN matchup predictor has us with a 57% chance of winning this game.
yeah, so it's almost at 50% both ways. So it'll be a good game for sure to see that happen.
I think we win this game. I think it's gonna come out to be really close. I think Tyler Perry will have to hit a couple of clutch free throws in the second half to win us this game. Kai Huntsberry
And
just needs to stay aggressive, and I think we come out on top.
yeah, Perry would have to step up, and he has been stepping up here recently. So that's good to see. And Huntsberry has been real good as a starter. So I think it'll be a good game for us for sure, win or lose.
Yeah, I think this is gonna be our toughest game in the beginning of conference play.
And
Um,
it
this is
would
gonna
set the
set
tone
yeah,
for
this is
sure.
gonna set the tone for the rest of conference play.
Right. I agree.
Is that all we got?
I think so.
All right, guys. Please like, comment, subscribe if you like our opinions. Comment what you think about everything that we said. Also, check out our TikTok. It's going to be in the description. Um, I'm your host, Hobart. This is my co host, Hunter.
Yep. See you next week, guys.
All right, see ya.
See ya.